that while we wait for Anna and Will? Okay. Okay. So we saw in the email that we'll just postpone approval of the October minutes until next meeting.
Yep.
So the Clink account is officially set up. Very exciting. Between the cleanup and I've been donating my bottles, we're at $20.
All right, that's a
But,
start.
it's a start. So I brought bags tonight. If anyone wants them, they're already stickered, so you just have to fill them up. And I just ask any of you if you know any of business or residents who would like to donate to the Clink account. That would be great. We'll get them bags. I will at some point here. I thought maybe leading up to Earth Day, I do a big push on our Facebook about it too. And then the only other thing is I just need to buy some more bags. So I just wanted to get approval to buy 3 more boxes.
Go for it.
Okay.
Sure.
Do we want
I
to?
have lots of bottles.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion for that or it's an expense?
I move we.
I second.
Get more bags.
get more
Okay. In favor. Okay. So I'm going to start with 3 and we'll go from there. We're just waiting for Anna from Midco. So we're just going to flip the.
Okay. Question, where do we drop off bags full of bottles?
Right at the Hannaford
Oh,
the
okay.
little Clink building.
Right.
These already have their sticker on them, so you just have to scan it and drop it in.
Okay.
Okay. And then since we haven't touched base since the fall cleanup event, our first one, it went well. And the people who came out were Marcia Kimpton, Jan Minzy, sorry.
Minzy.
Robert Butler, Jan Griesenbrock, Rebecca Pratt, Jeff Parent, and then Steve Will and myself. We picked up 5 contractor bags worth of litter and 3 Clink bags of bottles in the following areas. So I've got the list here for you.
One quick correction. Marcia is MARCIA.
Oh, yeah, right.
ARCIA, thank you. Okay. And as a post-event note, I think we should stick with doing a fall cleanup, but just move it to 1 weekend earlier. It was the same as the first day of hunting season. So I think
Ooh.
that hurt our turnout. So
That's a good point.
Spring cleanups, we're just gonna kind of.
Follow with the shellfish.
yeah, I think it's more effective if we just,
Oh, yeah.
it worked well. Each of us took one of the shellfish cleanup dates
Yep.
and joined in. And I thought as it gets closer, we can check in with them and see if they want help setting up a table or even some refreshments. I know Will's talked about maybe providing bottles of water or coffee for the early morning cleanups.
Mhm.
Hi. Okay, looks like everybody's here, so we can. Hello. So whenever you're ready, we were just talking about some old business, but ready to go and hear about the Moran lot whenever you are.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to hear what Max has to say for sure, but it's something Midco's Conservancy is interested in working with the town on making sure it stays undeveloped.
Okay.
I'm just moving the mic closer to you. Yeah, I gotta do that.
Yeah, sure. Do you want me to repeat? That's all I had to say initially. I mean, we walked it a couple months ago and, it's a beautiful little piece of land and it's right in town and with the trail where it is, I think that it's, and I'd love to hear from folks in town actually, right? But it seems like a really useful resource the way it is now. And it would, really be a shame to see it get broken up into several lots and developed.
Have you all been there out of curiosity behind the 80 Gray?
Well, we've been to the George Gold Trail and we know that it could easily be an extension of the George Gold Trail.
Well, part of it goes through it.
Goes right
already.
across the front of it.
Mhm.
And a lot of that's wet, zoned as wetland, so it's not all that developable anyway.
Mhm.
So you have all seen it, or most of you. Yeah.
And it's wonderful that it is right in the heart of the town. I mean, that's definitely a benefit. And the fact that it connects to Philbrook Field, which gives you a parking area, a place where you can actually park. And so it's a realistic spot to extend the trail.
Or even if 80 Gray were developed, I mean,
The
I
field is
personally
still gonna be
feel
the
like having
field.
Open space right next to, say, if it was Volunteers of America, whatever, that's a plus. And also, I personally, there's the Riverbend Park, and then you go up the hill and there's this one. And it's all right, it's like this loop right in the heart of the village, which is actually pretty unusual. And I feel like it's something the town could talk about.
And now that we have the little Elm Street Pocket Park there with the little picnic table there, right on Elm Street.
Elmer Jefferson.
That sort of gives it a connection. It's like,
Yeah, it's just right, it just is stop
like
here
what we
and
keep
there.
calling pocket parks, you know?
Yeah. that's true.
Well, there's actually been kind of a, well, Max would be able to speak to this more accurately, but there's been kind of a proposal floating around about, getting some sort of a walkway that would connect all of these things
Mhm.
directly,
Yeah.
That would be,
Mhm.
that would be a nice.
Because
feature for
the rest
town.
area across from Hannaford's, the Elm Street Pocket Park,
Just
the
have
river,
sidewalks that would
Riverview
go
Park,
along.
I mean, and that with the George Gould Trail. That's, there could be an entrance and exit on Jefferson Street from the George Gould Trail that would make another part of the loop.
The other,
These are all future plans.
I mean, I'd encourage looking at the whole, where the George Gould, because none of that's protected, and this would be the first piece.
Right, it's all private land, but it's, private land with agreements that we can keep that as the trails. For years, it was the historic 3K running track.
Right. And it also, some of that land connects to the Historical Society, so there's even another potential linkage there. So, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of potential. And this could be like the first piece to maybe galvanize the other, because the backland is not developable anyway. as far as I know. I don't know what next steps are.
Right, I mean, I think, so to me, there's a question that has been in my mind of, who would ultimately own the land. I think, Midcoast Conservancy is definitely willing, and we'll talk to our lands committee on Thursday again about this, and I'm not the decider, right? But there's been an interest in, we're used to doing the transactions, we can be the purchaser of the property. And we also could hold it for a while and then the town could take it on in time. So one possibility would be for, Midcoast Conservancy to accept the donations, right? We're 501c3, people can give their donations to us for this land that's for public benefit. And then, we could either keep it and hold it and, have the trails on it, and it would be, public access that way, or we could put a conservation easement on it that it remain undeveloped and public access stay on it, and then actually turn the land over to the town. So that would be another way to go. And we're, I kind of, there was one point where I realized, well, we don't have to decide, right away. What we need to decide is that there's enough, what we need to know is that there's enough interest in seeing this land protected that, the town's willing and interested in working on it, with Midcoast Conservancy, or, but those concepts are something that you would all
Mhm.
consider as a conservation.
I think that's a great starting point, and I think it's true. We don't have to make all the decisions up front. And I think having the Midcoast Conservancy involved, again, because of the 501c3 status, is going to be very helpful.
I think knowing that there's support from the town is what we need.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and that's partly why I thought it was a good idea for this to go before you all right now, because I didn't want to make any calls saying, yes, the town will take ownership.
Yeah.
And then it falls on you, maybe Rachel over there. I don't want to scare people away.
I certainly would say that we would happily help with, maintaining the property and, building the trail system and all of those aspects. Yeah.
Mhm. So I think we're all very much on board together with this.
Yeah.
So who's been maintaining the trail? I mean, it's sort of half being maintained, or at least was. Do you know?
So
The old 80 grade trail? That's myself. That's you? Okay.
She and her husband
Yes.
have been doing a great job.
Such a beautiful.
And what's your name again?
My name's Rachel Morris and my husband Garvin.
Okay.
So we've each taken, like, the town forest has been Leslie, and so we've each taken one of the major town recreation properties and kind of to oversee them. So we each have one that we kind of focus on.
Yeah, we struggled to get volunteers, and so we agreed as a conservation commission that we would just each steward a property, and then give updates. And if we needed to do a group work day, then when we moved to do that.
That might be another thing over time, Midcoast could collaborate with that, just engage some of our volunteers.
That would be lovely. I know that that lot has needed a little extra work, and down the road, the town forest is going to need some major trail work down the road, but
Yeah.
different property.
And we've actually had Charlie from the trails group come out there and walk the trail with me and help me give some advice of different things, because there's some slick hill areas and things where it's a little steep and clay gets slick. And he's had some ideas about a little improving the bridges and things like that. So we've already asked him to help us with some advice.
Yeah, and I think that's, anywhere where there's some folks leading the charge, which you all are on those kinds of trails, and the Midcoast can pitch in. We aren't necessarily able to say, oh, we can be the conveners of all, and keep an eye on the trails and be the lead, but we can
We can
definitely
advertise for
support.
volunteers.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
That would
So
be wonderful.
Yeah.
We're
Seems like a
not just
win-win.
but for the town forest, we're waiting to hear for about a grant. And if we get it, we're going to do some major trail work, and it's desperately needed it, but it will take many volunteers to do the work that will need to be done.
What was the grant that you applied for?
The Tabitha
Stephen and
King.
Tabitha King Foundation.
Yeah, that one's kind of, I've never gotten funds from them.
No.
And I hope you do.
Got one, it took 3 tries.
Fingers crossed, if you, especially where it's been so wet, it was just, the trail was not passable most of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you do.
Going back on the Warren site, I think it would be beneficial for me to be able to take it back to Warren's steps. What is, how do you see collectively the process going? What are, from a logical viewpoint, from a brokerage viewpoint, part of the step somewhere will be some entity will enter into an agreement, whether it's an option or a purchase and sales agreement or whatever it is, that will create the communities, the entity as stakeholders. Now they have X amount of time to perform the outline. Luckily, you're not looking at huge monies, but it's still monies to raise.
Mhm.
What are the expectations? Are there any grants? Are there any foundation? Is there any endowment? Are you starting from zero? Are you starting from half? Just so I can relay some information to the Warrens.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
they certainly have exhibited their patience and they would like to see this happen.
yeah, we're waiting for all of us to be in the room together, which is not so easy these days, and I'm
No.
glad it's happened, really glad.
Mhm.
So I can speak to that and say, again, Midcoast is used to buying land. I mean, that we're, I'm the one that does that. We could certainly put a purchase and sale in place with a
Mhm.
kind of a longer timeline than a typical timeline.
Yep.
With the Warrens, and I would be the negotiator on that with you.
Okay.
And then, and we have already received actually a pledge toward that purchase. And
Oh,
so,
great.
and, Dozier and I have talked about fundraising and, so we're seeing it as coming from private donors, because we already have a chunk of it raised. So that will take some time. And I would say we'd also want to raise, but typically Midcoast Conservancy raises the purchase price and also a fund for stewardship that, where the principle of it doesn't get spent, but, like there can be basic things that we're keeping an eye on every year that we have to do as an accredited land trust. So I would suggest we raise that, as part of this project. And then if the town, well, either way, Midcoast Conservancy would have responsibilities forever on it. Even if the town became the owner, we'd still, as an easement holder, still be checking on it every year. So that would be part of the funds that we'd be looking at. But
so maybe fleshing out a rough timeline for the Moorings, you know, it can be.
Yeah.
We can review that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can discuss it here, or you can go back and review.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a balance with all our other projects, right? If this was the only one, then we
Yeah.
could move fast forward on it. So
Yeah.
I think it depends, it really depends on, yeah, exactly that, what they're willing to wait for and
Mhm.
how long. I know acknowledging they've already waited for some time to put it on the market, so.
Well, and they've waited for 30 years, so.
Okay.
So there's no big rush.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
You know, a rough time frame of like 6 months or a year, whatever it is, just so we have something to
Mhm.
keep us going.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Yeah,
so that all the stakeholders
yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, I
can be
mean-
cognizant.
yeah, something between 6 months and a year is what's popping up in my mind,
Mhm.
again, to keep it moving forward. We'll have to see how it slots in. We're talking on Thursday about 17 different projects hoping to finish this year, so. Wow. And then they come in the door, so.
But this one sounds fairly straightforward, at least.
I think this part, now that we've had this conversation, I mean, the fundraising takes time and energy. So,
But then the
There's me-
Conservation Commission and the town can be very upfront and forward about promoting this, this donation. So we could help do some of the fundraising too.
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna offer that and ask if we can help with any of it. Please
Yeah.
Let us know.
yeah, I mean, so, meetings with folks are one way we do it. Another would be a letter of support. That would be really, really, I mean, I think that would be, let's draft that.
And sometimes just putting it out in the public, putting something in the paper, letting people know that this is an opportunity where they could benefit their own community.
Yeah, however I mean, if you have suggestions, if you've seen things, done projects like this in the past and you've seen certain things be successful, we can also, I'm looking at Kara because I know I'm like, I think you know.
I know a few
I
things.
could follow your lead. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you all know this community, inside and out, and yeah. So. So I can, if you all have a point person you want me to be in touch with in terms of the Conservation Commission, I was thinking it was Max, but it doesn't need to be,
It could be me, it could be Leslie, it could be Julie, it could be
Who do you guys?
Governor Mills somehow.
I
think-
think keep me and Max CC'd into the email, so we
Okay.
can send loops, that would be great.
Okay, Julie and Max.
Yeah, Leslie is really the point person here.
It's Leslie. Yeah, I've got it wrong. Yeah, thank you. Yep. Okay. Good. So we can think a little bit about timeline maybe, and then, and I'll circle up with the Midcoast Conservancy folks, and then I'll give you a call in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Very exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Okay.
It's such an interesting trail for as short as it is.
I know,
I
it
was
really
really,
is. It's
really
those
impressed.
beautiful
So,
Trees in there.
yeah.
Trees and stuff.
Sure, it'll be fun to add that piece to it. And we have talked about that, like you said, Rachel had talked about adding on to it in that area, because she lives near the Historical Society. And so we've talked about potentially down the road, reaching out to other landowners over there and seeing what we can get for access.
It adds up to like
Piece of
30
land.
acres. back there.
That's absentee landowner, unless it's transferred. And that, if, even without any additional land, if you could at some point incorporate that, that would be the Sedgwick parcel. And that connects onto the back of this, and it runs up to 220.
Oh, okay.
Right across. It's one of the ones we looked at, I'm sure. I can't remember.
Well, that's not the one with
And, you
storage.
know, now that I can recognize and place who you are, that was, the piece of land we're talking about was Damon's grandfather's.
Oh, wow.
That's right next to the
Okay.
parcels.
So-
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Okay. Here's the Historical Society.
Historical Society.
That's Sedgwick is a little one.
Is this where the like the turkeys and
Yeah,
chickens?
that's
and
the little home chick thing. You're talking about this property, right?
Yes,
The one that
It's
says
very
Sedgwick on
close
it.
to where you
Yes.
want to do the
yes.
trail.
So here's Warren. and
It's
then
Cool.
it'll just be-
falling together.
I know, this will be neat.
I would take you right off the road.
Because it is a short little trail now, although it's pretty. I love the brook area where the trees are down and it's like little waterfalls all over. That's such a pretty place. So cute.
Mature, enormous trees in there.
Yeah. And all the people around there are very happy that the trail is being maintained. It's all positive. Mhm. Because, no, because they're all like, this is my backyard. It's exciting to them too.
Well, no, I was more in Mississippi property. I just mentioned.
Right, okay.
And then
That's neat.
make a little. That's the second property.
So that,
Then we could get a little sidewalk right there.
Thinking about grants on this register for that town.
well, yeah, that would
I'm just,
connect right
mine's
all
sort of
the
bouncing
way
around
in.
right now, because I'm like, oh, that's that.
And then you could make a
parcel,
long.
Very
'cause you could go from
interesting.
the Historic
Oh, yeah.
Society
I'm
all
still
the way
waiting
to
for a grant from the
Riverbrook.
town forest, but
Yeah.
that would.
Awesome.
Pretty amazing to have that right in the heart of village.
And you could stop all the way along Elm Street with the
and
picnic
es-
table there.
especially if
There's,
there's
you know,
train
and that
depot.
little brook that you go down that's almost on Jefferson Street. Pat Spofford, her children used to go there. They called it the Eagle Hole because the eagles would catch fish there and sit in the trees and eat the fish there.
Little boys used to catch trout there.
Yep. Yep.
You had brown, you had square tails before they rebuilt Route 1.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Because, yeah, in the spring, you could go in there and you could catch 6 to 8 trout at a time. They had to be sea run
Yeah, they
because
must
they
have
would
been.
come up.
Up from the river. Mhm.
And actually, we did catch them at the mouth of that brook because it entered into the Madomic.
Oh, right at Elm Street there?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
very cool.
So that's all connected.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
So, yeah, very exciting.
Is there anything else, other questions that we can answer or help with, or
I think this is like a great start to the conversation, right? And
very exciting to finally get everyone in the same room?
yeah, we'll keep the lines of communication open and
Yeah.
yeah, keep it going.
So do we need to make a motion on something? Or?
Well, I think we should write a letter of support. Write a letter of support.
Second.
All in favor?
Then I'd suggest maybe a motion to say, let's leave or match or whatever, still pursue this outside of the commission meetings, just a suggestion.
I so move.
Second,
All in favor?
we're pretty informal.
Keep things moving though.
It's a great opportunity for partnership. with those two.
It is.
Yeah.
Maybe they could get the Riverbrook onto your website because it doesn't show up on the website yet.
I
The
know we're
River
working-
Park,
There's a new website.
Waldeboro River.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't checked the newest one.
Hopefully, but I haven't been building it or following it, but I know we're working on an interactive map that shows all the preserves and, but it should.
Is it the Walterboro Village River Park, right?
Riverbend? It's called Riverbend. Is
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking Riverbrook should be up, but this is different. It's-
Riverbrook is there, but
Little one
Yeah.
behind the.
It's the one behind Bear Hill True Value. That one hadn't been on there.
Right.
Yeah,
We looked a few times.
Have to put something
Um,
about dogs in that case. though.
I could put you in touch with the person that would be able to better help you with that, like be able to actually get it up online.
Yeah,
It should be.
officially it's called the Walterboro Village River Park.
And there had been, I directed, someone reached out to our Facebook. Oh, did you see that, Karen, about a month ago? Because somebody was tenting there. And I told them to get in touch with, I gave them the contact information for Midcoast.
I don't know, I hadn't heard anything about that.
Oh, really? And I checked it out that weekend and I didn't see anything. So maybe they had moved on, but
It's pretty cold now.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
That's kind of sad.
but this is a while ago.
And then we had trouble with that at one of our properties the
Yeah.
year before, living there. So
Pretty visible.
Oh,
there.
so it wasn't just a camp out.
no, somebody had a tent down there. I guess somebody reached out to our Facebook page and messaged and was like,
Yeah.
I don't think tenting's allowed there.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on. And I said, Midcoast maintains that property and it's best to reach out to them.
Yeah, I didn't hear, but I think I would have heard about it, but I.
Yeah.
Please look into it too, and
Yeah.
they confirm that with neighbors, but they.
Yeah, it might have been a one-nighter.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
for
you.
meeting with us and sharing all this great information.
Mhm,
Very excited to be a part of it.
mhm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, if you can just bring old Eagle Hole back.
Yes.
Were we that, was this the only new business on the agenda? You had other things to wrap up? Is that-
We're just gonna do property updates, steward property updates, and then that was kind of it. I wasn't sure how long this was gonna take, so I kept the meeting light
Oh,
this time around. Um,
I guess you could stay if you want, but it's,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
if you-
it's not going to be very exciting.
If you'd like to hear the updates,
Oh,
sure.
we can make it
Internal.
exciting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Property update?
Rachel, have you been down to George Gold recently?
Not in about a month.
Yeah.
But, the last time I was down there, I'm not sure it's getting a lot of traffic. But I just don't know, there's no litter, everything looks great
Nice.
on that front, so. Either people are behaving themselves, or they're not.
Buried under the snow.
There was not snow the
Oh,
last time I was there, but yeah.
Well, it's kind of a well-kept secret. If you don't know about it, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like, you can start in different places and.
Yeah. If you get out there in the snowshoeing or anything, send me some pictures and we can do a,
Will do. I'd
Winter
like to
post.
get out and check on the orange arrows that we put up and just make sure that the snow hasn't displaced those.
awesome.
It is tough to get across that log across the brook when there's ice on it.
Oh.
Yeah, that one.
Noted, thank you.
Yeah, snowshoeing there would be tough.
Quarry Hill Preserve and Elm Street Park, Will?
Yeah, Quarry Hill, pretty quiet this time of year. It's a summer hangout. It's snowed in right now. Elm Street Park, that's been quite popular. It's snowed in now, but before this fall, you drive by and you always see somebody there having lunch or
Yeah.
with their kids. Nice view. I saw some forsythias planted there.
All right.
The border, that's gonna look good this spring.
We got the hedge in.
So and there's a little litter down there, but
Yeah, that's what I was wondering how the litter was looking in the winter because after the cleanup, I went 2 more times. It was just,
Yeah, I
it was
picked
pretty
up about
bad.
a half a bag there.
Yeah.
it's a never ending battle, but
Yeah.
it wasn't terrible. And
Okay,
keeping up with it.
good. Okay. Madomic River Rest Area and Pine Street Landing,
Yeah,
Steve?
there's not much to say. We talked about this a little at our kind of not quite a meeting in December, but early December, just kind of reviewed everything and picked up a bag of trash at the rest area and another bag of trash at the landing. And then went back, I don't know, a couple of weeks later. If I always carry a trash bag in the truck, there was some more at the rest area, and then I went over to Elm Street and I got some more there. And when I was at Elm Street, there were a bunch of things that had been probably deliberately thrown over the riprap, and they were down the riprap close to the water's edge. And
Yeah.
I did not climb down there. And then also, this is something to think about in the spring. At the Pine Street Landing, in the commercial parking area side, all along that side, there's just a huge tangle of wild rose, and there's a bunch of trash in there too, which I would have picked up, but I didn't have my lockers with me for a change. So, but that's something that we should probably check out in the spring before things leaf out.
Yeah.
It'll be easier to cut things back and get down in there.
I'm worried about Elm Street. That's, it seems to be it's getting to be a polluted little park. People toss stuff out of there. I notice it around the picnic table when I go by. I don't know why that's what it attracts, but okay.
Well, I go by there all the time and I try to, in season, I try to check everything at least once a week, so. But that's kind of what it's gonna take is just people
Yeah,
making
routine
regular
visits.
trips.
Yep.
Just to check things out.
Karen, I didn't mean to leave Dutch Neck off.
No, it's on the other side, isn't it?
Is it?
Which part?
Oh, it isn't?
No.
Well, I haven't been there too much. I haven't been doing very much down there, certainly because of the weather and all. But I do drive through there once in a while just to see how things are. And they have plowed the ramp, and they've plowed most of the parking. And I noticed that there's a bunch of very colorful stickers on the no pets allowed sign. We'll have to probably take them off at some point.
Okay.
I didn't really notice any blowdown on the trails. I was able to see the blue trail markers on the beginnings of the multiple trails we have. So I could easily see them, and there wasn't any trash, but it's been fall and now there's snow, so I really haven't noticed much of anything. So things look in good shape down there, and it'll be the springtime to really go back to the trails, and the trails will need more clearing. Again, I'm sure there'll be some blowdown.
Yeah. We went late fall, me, you and his daughter, and did a trash pickup, and the trail was in pretty good shape. We walked the trail, both versions of it.
Mhm.
It was mostly, the parking lot area
Yep.
that had the most
Trash, yeah.
trash and bottles and everything else.
It gets a lot of traffic, just like the Pine Street Landing, when you get a lot of boat traffic and a lot of recreational traffic, and even unintentionally, things blow out of pickup trucks and whatever, so.
Okay. Okay.
Not so much glass beer bottles. but
Well,
it's
they don't
fun.
blow out, not so much.
So the town forest, before it finally froze over, the mud there was just impassable. And I tried with what I could, with just falling down trees and, to build little, to cover some of the mud to try to pass it. But I saw a couple of reviews online and people were saying they were having difficulty. And so we're just really waiting to hear about the Tabitha grant. Because Tabitha grant, to get that, we really need to focus on some serious trail work to, protect the forest and the wetlands there that people are going through. It's actively used. I see it. We've been walking. I mean, not since this recent snowstorm, but I've been going in the snow and I see other tracks. I ran into somebody on it the other day I hadn't seen before, so that's exciting. Main author reached out to us because he's writing a book about hiking trails and walking trails in Maine, and he wants to put the town forest in the book. So he sent us the little blurb he's going to write in and some pictures, and it was really exciting. And he talked a little bit about the woolly adelgid that we're combating and working with the state on. So I will let you know when that hits the shelves.
Cool.
Get it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Have you noticed any progress with the woolly adelgid situation?
Yeah.
Did you release biocontrol agents for it?
Yes, we did. We've been working with the Maine State Forest Service, and we got approved for, we got beetles from them. I have the actual scientific name on my phone. I can look it up if you need me to.
The lady beetle,
It's
like a ladybug variety.
it's not the ladybug variety. It's a different one.
Some of my colleagues are looking at doing some management, hemlock woolly adelgid management on other properties. So
Yeah.
if it's okay with you, Leslie, I will ask them to reach out to you.
Yeah, reach out and I will send them, because she just recently sent a link. The place that they buy them from doesn't typically have them for sale.
Yeah.
And I think they thought they were going to have a little extra this year. So they sent a link to it. But the beetle that she said it's has to go through really rigorous testing and be willing to die before it will, spread onto something or become invasive. So yes, I did notice it. She showed it. I went to the last release with her, and then she showed me where you could see signs of it working. And so I've gone back and just checked where we've released, and you can see where they're eating some of it. So it's kind of exciting to see it working. The next step will be we'll need to purchase some horticulture oil. She said that's something we'll need to be doing along with pesticide treatment. So, we're just sort of in a hurry up and wait stage right now. It's not the season to treat it right now, and we also just have to wait to hear about the finance.
What do you do with the horticultural oil? Spray it on it, or?
You rub it on the needles, but
Okay.
not too much that it would, make it difficult for the beetles. I can share the information with you. I wrote it all down, everything she shared with me for the
Yeah.
next step.
When it's timely, when we're getting ready to do something, then we could use the information.
But it would be great if we could all plan a day and go out there. If we broke it up between all of us, it would,
Mhm.
many hands make light work.
Yes.
On something like that. And then in terms of, there's nothing down. My husband and I keep up with that, keeping it passable. And then just maybe down the road, I think it's something that's been top of mind for Will even, and I, is getting an easement on that property. We talked with a little bit with Joan Ray about that and the next steps, and she said she would be happy to
Mhm.
talk to us more about that if we wanted to. So,
And I'd be I mean, I'm also the one that handles that at Midcoast
Right.
Conservancy. We cover Walterboro.
oh yeah, okay,
Mhm.
great. Well, yeah, maybe I'll be in touch with you,
It was
Anna.
one of
Then
those
we-
things, yeah, like,
yeah.
the transition. Yeah, we'd be happy to work with you on that, because I had kind of let it lie. I think I talked to, I mean, there were a number of properties that were in conversation, and I forget, I think there was like the water district property too, that I had
Mhm.
spoken with
Yeah.
those folks about, and that one didn't seem like it had legs, but I hadn't looked at the whole list, so yeah, we'd be more than happy.
And with the town forest, it'd be really nice to have a really permanent easement on it, because there's been occasions when we've had loggers kind of try to do proposals to the select board on logging the area, which is really not feasible at all, because you need 30-foot clearance on either side, and this is a narrow little swath of land. And hemlock trees that have historic value that these ones do, it really doesn't fly. But every now and then you have the loggers that want to build a path through there to go to some other, landlocked area to forest. And so if we had an easement on that, that would stop the conversation right there. We wouldn't have to worry about responding to them and going back and forth.
I mean, if the easement states that it's forever wild, not to be managed,
Right.
to be actively managed forest, then yes.
Yeah, that's something that's been top of mind, working so hard to save these hemlocks, and, as a reminder, we have to stay really focused on that too in the next couple of years, because the state entomologist said that down in southern Maine, a property, they did the beetle release, but they wouldn't do pesticide treatment, and right now they're losing the trees, and it's 6 years, she said. About 6 years later now, and so she's like, it really has to be a combination of the both if we stand a chance.
Save them.
It used to be that like, if you had two, I think, consecutive nights or days below zero, it would set them back. It's like, that's what sort of kept it from coming from southern Maine to here. I don't know if she talked about that, but hopefully this winter might be a good winter to slow it down.
That's true.
No, fingers crossed. We did catch it. We did catch it early, she said.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that might help anyway.
Yeah.
At least the short term.
I have a bunch of ideas. I would say, so I'm like sitting over here on my hands. I used to work with biocontrol agents, that was part of my, and so I've released beetles for other non-native invasive species. And one of the things that can happen is there's a big enough population at some point that you can actually take some and then move them to the state.
That's their plan with us. We're one of their
Yeah.
nurseries.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
So they're hoping down the road they will be able to take and move them.
Cool. Yeah. Well, then that makes sense. Then that's a part of what I was thinking with my colleagues. When it's ready,
Yeah.
and start to spread them to where it makes sense.
One of them did. Well, who was it from the Christmas Conservancy that walked the tube?
Isabel or Chris? Oh, okay. So they already have.
He
talked
came
to you
out.
guys.
They're involved.
Good.
Coastal rivers and
Excellent. Okay. Well, so then they already know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just me that's learning.
Yeah.
Because I knew they'd done research, but I didn't know that talking to you folks was part of
And
it.
Booth Bay Land Trust came out, and
Oh, when was that?
it was in the
fall.
early fall for that one. And that was before we got approved for the beetles. And then I think only Coastal Rivers came out for the first release of the beetles, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just Joan.
Yeah.
We did 3 rounds of beetle releases. It was really interesting. Cool.
Yeah. And another thought I had, but then you maybe done it, but I mean, a walk for the public would be really cool.
Yeah.
To have people see you could show them the feeding evidence and things like that. And Midcoast would be happy. If you wanted to work together on that, we could help promote it and, send it out to the membership and have it be an event that was a Midcoast event. And I can circle back with maybe Chris and Isabel about that. They'd be the ones that would help coordinate it.
We have talked about that as a commission doing that. We don't want to push it publicly until we hear more about the grant and the funding and the next steps, because we know that the public is going to have, and that's one of the things the entomologist mentioned to us, is like just to be ready for all the questions and all the feedback and input people are going to have. And I would say, I don't know how you feel, but I'm still not confident that we're there yet to lead a public walk without having a little bit more information on what's going on with our funding for it. But once we have some more answers, that's absolutely something we've talked about a few times in the past year about wanting to educate the public. And we've talked about educational walks for all of our trails. Actually, we want to lead some walks and go to that. So,
Yeah, just check the progress in the spring and see how the beetles made it through the winter too.
yeah.
And part of it also with this whole beetle release and the pesticides is we don't want to have people running willy-nilly through the forest, unaware of what to be cautious about. So again, the educational piece was a big part that you talked about from the very beginning.
Yeah, we did. We have a little informational flyer that we posted, and all 3 beetle releases were advertised, so they could come join us. And we did have a couple people, one lady from the public showed on the first release, because at that time we had the state entomologist with us that could help answer some more of the questions, and we hadn't applied for the grant yet. So all of those were open to the public, and that was exciting.
Yeah, education is like the first step, so that then we will lead on to this, sharing it with the public. But we'd love to have the help of Midcoast Conservancy and some of the expertise that your people have in doing a walk.
Yeah. I mean, or bring the state entomologist back if she's willing. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of ways to kind of slice that. And I'm just thinking, I'm like also chewing over. I wish there were more funding for non-native invasive species management. That's what I'm sifting through in my head as the grants I know. And the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund was one that came up though in my mind. Like I think there's, because that one promotes trail, you can promote trail use with it. I haven't seen the invasive species angle on that one, but you might be able to, and that's twice a year. I think that you just missed one of the deadlines, but the other one's like August. So you have to go through a state agency and get like a kind of talk with them, and then you do like a 1-page summary of the project, and then you submit.
The town actually did get 2 outdoor heritage funds.
Oh, did you?
Very recently, and I think part of the reason we didn't use that was because the King Foundation one happened earlier than the outdoor heritage fund. I can't remember the timelines, but I think it was like we had to do the King Foundation first, and I think we just didn't. I guess I got overconfident.
Yeah.
That one's, I mean, it's like a black box. You send stuff into STK and that's like, we don't know. Like I've tried a few times with different projects with different organizations. I really hope you get it. No, I mean, this project is great. I just have heard, and it sounds like, I mean, I have talked to the funder actually too, and it sounds like it's a black box from their side.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of like what the folks want to give money to that year.
Yeah.
But that's why I was like, Outdoor Heritage Fund it's more consistent and they have everything, you can always go for that again. It sounds like a multi-layer project. And again, like if a letter of support from Midcoast Conservancy would be helpful, and I mean, Outdoor Heritage Fund thing could, we could work together on that too. So
Awesome.
I'm just trying to think of different ways to kind of cross-pollinate.
Awesome.
It's really exciting. Glad I didn't leave.
Thank you. It is really exciting. We've got a lot of, before the woolly adelgid hit, we had a lot of we talked about doing some story walks at our trails. I want to paint, the nice little painted rocks with information on them for children to pick up. We're going to do ones like that, and a children's passport for trail walks in Walterboro, and then the woolly adelgid hit us. And
the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, and there's like 5 of us.
All of our meetings and all of the kinds of group gatherings we wanted to have became like non-existent.
Yeah, so everything kind of took a back. Yeah, where you have to act so quickly with it, and and it's expensive, and so all of our focus kind of went into saving
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
And then winter happened.
Max, do you know, is there anything a predetermined use of the town forest? Because I was always told that that was for people for firewood, and like always available for them. That's what John Daigle said. And so if we're looking into a conservation easement, I'm just curious if there's anything already written down in the past the town has done for that.
I'll look at the deed after, before I have a meeting at 7, so I'll look at the deed, but I can't think of anything on that.
Okay.
The town used to have a town forester, Hollis Tedford. I don't know if that rings a bell, quite a while ago. It might probably before you came, Max, and there was a big push to harvest there. As a matter of fact, I think they did some harvesting there,
Yeah,
just as a source of revenue for the town. It wasn't, but I don't think it's in the deed. It was just.
Practice. It was just a practice that was done.
Right.
yeah. It might not be an official thing. It might have just been, this was a casual thing that was done, handshake agreements and whatnot, just as they pointed out, but
If you,
I'll check to make sure there's nothing in writing.
Right.
yeah, and if you run into something in the deed that says something about firewood harvest, that could still be compatible. There's ways to work it where you could limit it, the amount per person or the cordage per acre, and still say no commercial harvest, but it's for personal use for, folks who live in, with residences in Walterboro, where, I mean, there's just a bunch of, that's not a deal breaker.
I
in
can
terms
only
of-
suggest that that's not an avenue you want to go down.
Mm,
Yeah, but if you're required to, it
But
would be a lot of
They wouldn't be
management.
required, but again, when you look at potential injuries
Yeah.
Mm.
that
Mm.
could
Bigger
occur
liability.
in the potential liability for the town's sake,
mhm.
I think all you gotta do is mention cutting firewood to the manager's office, and that ends the conversation.
Yeah.
In all probability, even though you try, you look and think that it would be good, when we look at the side effects, it's something that probably would be very uncomfortable. I know that we never mentioned it in the time that I was on the select board.
I mean, I know there are towns, in northern Maine that are doing that on easement, they're,
Would they
Land
cut and
trust
have
would
it set
easement
up so
land.
they can just take it? I mean.
Yes.
To me, I can't see
Yeah, that would be.
having a private individual go in with a chainsaw and start dropping.
No, it's actually, no, it's that. It is
It
like
is?
people can go in and harvest their own wood. And I know out west, folks do that. That's allowed in like state forest lands and things
They're
like
bigger
that. but-
pieces. This is not that big. of a
Yeah,
part.
so I
I'm not
haven't
saying we
been
should
there,
do
yeah.
it.
And that's,
Yeah.
I'm saying that in the past,
Yeah,
the old days,
Yeah.
people, that's what the town forest was used for.
yeah,
I was just making sure there was nothing in the official documentation that gave people the right to that.
right.
If we're gonna do an easement,
Yeah.
just making sure we cross all our T's.
It's really good. And like, so I just want to say, if you come upon something, we can still work with it. If that's something that has to be in there, we could still have an easement on that land. But it would be tricky.
And then Max, right now, we're on a hold for grant and arborist update. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
I called and I've sent emails and I haven't heard back.
Okay. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they want to add before we wrap up here?
we were gonna talk about the pocket park signs.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything more is there anything?
Did I have,
Oh.
I have it noted under next meeting, we were gonna
Oh, next
reopen the
meeting.
discussion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because we'll want to decide things like, again, go back to the sizes and the
Well,
mounting.
To that point, I actually, now that we've actually had a real snow, like John's objection was where are we gonna plow and what's gonna be in the way? And I was kind of surprised driving by Elm Street. It wasn't plowed, so I still have no idea where he would put the snow there. But I plan on checking out the rest area tomorrow, following up about just to see where the snow piles are. Of course, the snow piles at the landing are where they've always been, you know, on the slope, which doesn't
Yeah.
really get in the way of anything down there.
The sign is standing very nicely at Dutch Neck. It's still up, it's still there,
Yeah.
nobody's stolen it.
I love that
I
sign.
was gonna say, no one's appropriated it.
No, we actually had two actual signs made for the Dutch Neck landing in fear that it might disappear. But we only had one post set made, and so far we're sticking with the one and everybody's respecting it.
Good. So the next meeting, we'll have another update on our assigned locations. And then I figured then, I just want to be mindful tonight of the time we want, like to focus on the
Okay.
Moran lot. So we'll reopen the discussion of the pocket park signs. And also I plan on next meeting being a longer meeting, because I also want to discuss our events for the coming year, and really start nailing that down, who's going to be at what event and which events we're going to hold ourselves this year.
Mhm.
And then I thought we could go, the next meeting we could do in April. Does anyone object to that instead of March? Okay.
No problem.
More likely we'll be able to get around in places in April than.
I just
March.
thought, yeah, I figured, and I'm thinking like an hour and a half, probably meeting. We're gonna spend some serious time planning and discussing things for the.
Well, there's a following meeting at 7 o'clock that you have to be at, right?
Yes, well, it's here. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that-
EDC meets at 7 o'clock, but if I have,
Yeah, we'll go.
like, I can ask them in March, it's fine if we just.
Go
meet,
over a
like,
little.
maybe 10 minutes later.
That would be good. That would just give us a little leeway, just in case. All
Yeah,
right,
I'll
so
try to draft out, maybe over the next weekend, get a draft agenda out and see what it all. I just feel like we have a lot to talk about for this year, so, all right.
great.
Does anyone want to move to adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.